Chapter 2303, The Great Shift of Heaven and Earth 1. Zhang Yi watched the leaders of each major region in silence. Before him, they behaved like merchants seeking business deals, their faces plastered with flattery, cautiously hoping to extract more benefits from Zhang Yi. A composed smile graced Zhang Yi's face as he reached out to accept a cup of hot milk from Zhou Qir beside him, easing the lingering effects of his drink. All right. I've seen all your contributions this time. But even brothers must keep clear accounts. Since you're here discussing sacrifices and contributions, let's first sort out exactly how much each faction contributed to this battle. He took a slow sip of the hot milk before setting the cup on the nearby coffee table. Hearing Zhang Yi speak thus, the high-ranking officials from the 6 major regions exchanged glances, suddenly unsure how to respond. The entire course of this battle had been truthfully reported to them by the returning mutants. They knew full well that over 95% of the credit for this victory belonged to Zhang Yi's team. The Jiangnan region? They had merely played a supporting role. The Mechanical Legion, Liu Karen's 3 super battleships, the intelligence Zhang Yi's team captured from the Silver Armor Generals, and Zhang Yi himself, along with his elite team of mutants. These were the crucial factors behind this victory. It could even be said that if the 6 major regions hadn't joined the fight, Zhang Yi's team alone could have defeated the Wulwan Empire. However, doing so would likely have resulted in a much higher casualty rate for the Mechanical Legion, and Zhang Yi's team would have suffered losses as well. Seeing they weren't trying to talk their way out of it, Zhang Yi nodded slowly with satisfaction. He continued, "Your contributions are all recorded in my mind and in the database." After defeating the Wulwan Empire, the sheer variety of detailed war spoils is overwhelming. It's impossible to figure out how to distribute them properly in such a short time. But here today, I can assure everyone. He glanced once more at the assembled crowd. Every heart lifted, tinged with both tension and anticipation. Shang Daowen and the others lowered their eyelids. They were the greatest beneficiaries of this operation, aside from Zhang Yi's team. Even disregarding everything else, the Black Chariot-level mutant origin they had obtained was incredibly precious. Zhang Yi had provided them with an exceptional opportunity, arranging everything meticulously. Even in this utterly decisive victory, not a single one of their mutants had fallen in battle. Zhang Yi continued, "I can guarantee that every resource you've invested will yield at least 20-fold returns." At these words, the eyes of the high-ranking officials from all major regions lit up with excitement. 20-fold returns. What did that even mean? Put simply, to support Zhang Yi in this battle, they had already drained over 50% of their reserves. A 20-fold return meant the overall strength of every major region would surge by 10-fold or more. Yet the astute among them could also grasp that if Zhang Yi was so generously distributing 20 times the resources, his own team must be receiving far more. That figure was undoubtedly unimaginably astronomical. Yet none of them were fools. They understood that final say rested entirely with Zhang Yi. Such generous rewards were already a significant concession on his part. Zhang Yi continued, "Of course, as I mentioned, the inventory is still being compiled. The specifics of what you'll receive aren't finalized yet, but it will primarily consist of the Wulwan Empire's technology, weaponry, and energy resources. In short, you'll receive 20 times the resources you contributed, no less. You won't need to keep haggling with me over this. I'm quite busy and have no time to go through every single item with you." Defeating a powerful ancient civilization yielded tens of thousands of strategic resources, even counting only the crucial ones. Given the nature of these seasoned political veterans, they wouldn't accept even the slightest loss. They'd likely scrutinize every item on the list, nitpicking over every detail. After all, Zhang Yi was deep-pocketed and didn't care about such trifles. Yet many resources he dismissed as insignificant, like tens of thousands of tons of fossil fuels, were precious treasures in the eyes of the 6 major regions. Meng Yuanjun smiled at Zhu Zheng and the others. "Since Lord Chaos has spoken, the Xinjiang region has no objections. Everyone, Lord Chaos's character is worthy of our trust. Let's proceed according to his wishes." Zhu Zheng quickly chimed in with a smile, Lord Chaos and I have been close friends for years. We address each other as brothers. He's always handled matters fairly, I have no objections. The others nodded in agreement, confident Zhang Yi wouldn't shortchange them in this regard. However, after discussing supplies, the next topic was the territorial division of the Wulwan Empire. Meng Yuanjun spoke first again. Lord Chaos, regarding the Wulwan Empire. I've heard it's an immense space located over 20,000 meters deep underground. Moreover, its infrastructure is exceptionally well developed, surpassing even the most prosperous era of Huashu Kingdom. Currently, the population of the Huashu Kingdom has dwindled to less than 100 million. The outside world is fraught with peril, and danger could strike at any moment. Therefore, we were wondering if we could divide the territory of the Wulwan Empire and so that we may relocate there in the future. Ho Tu, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. Though the Wulwan Empire has fallen, many powerful and terrifying civilizations still exist in this world. Take, for instance, the ancient demon god you helped seal away. Should that entity awaken, the entire world would face annihilation. Therefore, I believe preparing for the relocation of our entire populace is absolutely essential. Li Guangxiao, Supreme Commander of the East Sea region, suddenly addressed Meng Yuanjun. Commander Meng, I recall your Xinjing has a mutant with spatial transfer abilities. Correct? Meng Yuanjun nodded. He is Daisheng, the celestial swift star of the Special Unit 36 Heavenly Spirits, within the Dragon Guardians. His ability allows him to set spatial coordinates and transfer personnel. This ability proved crucial during the first major conflict between Tianhai City and the Wulwan Empire. Li Guangxiao pondered briefly before nodding. In that case, he could establish spatial nodes across all 6 major regions of the nation, linking them to the Wulwan Empire's border. That way, should future crises arise, we could swiftly relocate there. After voicing his suggestion, he naturally turned his gaze toward Zhang Yi. Chaos, what are your thoughts? The Wulwan Empire was vast, it had comfortably accommodated 27 million lizard folk in the past. Calculated by urban area, it could easily hold over 100 million people at maximum capacity. If necessary, the city could be expanded further. Chapter 2304, The Great Shift of Heaven and Earth 2. Zhang Yi's team didn't require much land. The original group in Tianhai City numbered only a few tens of thousands. Simply designating a 200-kilometer radius around the bustling imperial city in the central district would provide them with ample space to live comfortably. After all, he had already gathered all the resources. Allocating some land to other regions as emergency shelters for times of crisis posed no issue. That's easy. As for the specific zoning, he pondered for a moment before suddenly laughing. Since I led the conquest of this territory, how it's divided is entirely up to me. You lot better not complain. Zhang Yi spoke with a smile, but everyone understood the underlying implication. However I divide it, don't come complaining to me afterward. The others quickly agreed, of course. The conditions in the underground world are bound to be better than here. Outside, the bitter cold demanded massive energy for heating daily, and farming crops was extremely difficult. They were convinced that life in the underground world would be far better. The returning mutant forces had confirmed it. The underground world's temperature was more suitable for human survival than the current surface. Though oxygen was sparse, scientific methods could gradually alter that. Technology was already highly advanced, humans possessed the ability to improve environments. Zhang Yi addressed Yang Xinxin. Xinxin, I'll leave this matter to you. When you have time later, allocate territories for them. Yang Xinxin nodded lightly. However, she calmly informed the high-ranking officials of the 6 major regions, the underground world is currently a wasteland. With your current engineering capabilities, transforming it into a habitable environment within a short time frame is impossible. That task should be entrusted to our Mechanical Legion for now. Additionally, how many people do you plan to relocate? Surely you don't intend to transfer all 80 to 90 million citizens of Huashu Kingdom? That would require an extremely lengthy environmental adaptation process. the oxygen levels in the underground world are simply insufficient to sustain such a population. Environmental improvement must proceed step by step. Meng Yuanjun, Ji Changhai, Li Guangxiao, and the others exchanged glances. They hadn't considered these details, intending only to secure the territory first and develop it gradually later. Meng Yuanjun folded his hands beneath his chin, bowed his head in deep thought for a long moment, then spoke slowly. The paramount task is preserving the flame of survival. Should the entire Huashu nation face extinction, our priority evacuation would be the elite talents across all fields. And the high-ranking nobility. Yang Xinxin nodded, saying no more. The group conversed briefly, aware that Zhang Yi particularly disliked lengthy meetings. Thus, they all tactfully withdrew. When strength is unequal, the favor bestowed by the superior upon the subordinate is valued for the sentiment behind it. In truth, Zhang Yi's rewards had already exceeded their expectations, so none voiced any complaints. Though the others departed, Zhu Jing showed no hurry to leave. He rose as well, but instead approached Zhang Yi, speaking in a familiar tone. "Old Zhang, now that the outsiders are gone, we should talk heart to heart among ourselves. You see, you hail from the Jiangnan region. To me, Tianhai City is nothing more than one of the secondary capitals of the Jiangnan region. So, for our Jiangnan region, could you perhaps grant us some preferential treatment?" Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow. Special treatment? He studied Zhu Jing, stroking his chin thoughtfully. What kind of treatment do you want? The Jiangnan region has flourished rapidly these years under my protection, largely undisturbed. And regarding the mutants, Blizzard City only has Zhu who's worth mentioning. Deng Shintong has gone out seeking resources himself. He doesn't really demand much from you, does he? That's the situation. Still not satisfied? A hint of amusement played across Zhang Yi's face. Though Zhu Jing appeared to be working hard, setting aside Tianhai City, the Jiangnan region's overall strength was clearly lacking. Zhu Jing's capabilities were, frankly, nothing special. He was too self-serving. In terms of management skills, he was only marginally better than Li Changgong. Zhu Jing's expression shifted slightly, but as a seasoned bureaucrat, he quickly masked his discomfort. That's because you're here. Zhang Yi patted his shoulder, like a superior instructing a subordinate. All right. Everyone contributed this time. I'll keep that in mind. First, exhaust this batch of resources. It'll take a long time. Don't be too greedy, take things one bite at a time. After speaking, Zhang Yi turned to converse with Yang Xinxin. Zhu Jing had no choice but to leave the lounge. Returning to his command center's lounge, he summoned Zhu and Lan Xinxing, the secretary recently reassigned back. Lan Xinxing had previously been exiled by Zhu Jing for failing to report critical information, forced to perform arduous labor for a period. Lan Xinxing had assumed he'd never have the chance to return to the command center in his lifetime, yet Zhu Jing unexpectedly changed his mind. After all, the number of truly capable individuals remaining close to Zhu Jing was dwindling. Compared to him, Zhu Jing, the powerful figures in Blizzard City were now aligning themselves with the Deng family. They all knew Deng Shintong had secured a connection through Zhang Yi and was now considered someone close to him. Zhu Jing sat on the sofa, his brow slightly furrowed, lighting a cigarette for the first time in a long while. Zhu and Lan Xinxing entered the office. It had been a long time since they last met. Zhu gave a faint nod and exchanged greetings with Lan Xinxing. She said little else, which Lan Xinxing didn't mind. He knew that, since Zhu was only 4 years old by her birth date, she wasn't well versed in the ways of the world. Even though he had taken the punishment for her back then, he wouldn't mention it now. It was enough that she remembered the debt she owed him. The two entered the office to find Zhu Jing with a deep, pensive expression. He wore a goose-down vest over his white shirt. The room temperature was quite high, so Lan Xinxing wore only a light jacket. But Zhu Jing was, after all, in his 60s. He was quite old now. Even with the best medical care available, he wasn't one of those enhancement mutants. Over the past 4 years, worrying night and day about an uncertain future had turned nearly all his hair white. Therefore, every few days, he had to diet to maintain the vibrant, energetic image others saw in him. Father. Commander Zhu. The two approached Zhu Zheng. He lifted his head to glance at them, gesturing toward the sofa. Sit down. It's been ages since we gathered like this. Let's have a proper talk today. Chapter 2305, The Great Shift of Heaven and Earth 3. Zhu Jing had Zhiyu and Lan Xingqing sit directly before him. Zhiyu sat obediently, hands folded on her knees, silent as she quietly observed Zhu Zheng. She believed her unauthorized journey to the Wulwan Empire was entirely justified, a pure expression of her true self, thus blameless. Her thoughts remained utterly straightforward, even when facing Zhu Zheng. Zhu Zheng smiled and said, "So, your time in the Wulwan Empire must have yielded quite a harvest, huh?" Zhiyu nodded obediently and replied, "I killed multiple lizard men, including 1 epsilon of the black chariot level and 2 epsilons of the white chariot level. Their origin was incredibly delicious. My ability index has now reached 28,000 points." Her voice carried a hint of glee as she spoke, her gaze toward Zhu Zheng tinged with a touch of "come praise me" smugness. Zhu Zheng's eyes softened considerably. "Indeed," he smiled and nodded. "Truly worthy of being my daughter, so outstanding." Zhu Yu's abilities perfectly inherited Yuan Kongyue's legacy. Through systematic training and Li Lingshua's specialized guidance, her power development reached an astonishing level. Namely, she absorbed the origin power of mutants without any process. She could indiscriminately absorb the origin of any mutant or mutant beasts, inheriting their supernatural powers. If one were to point out a flaw, it would be that the power she acquired so rapidly was easy to learn but difficult to master. Thus, while she could wield every ability, she could never achieve the same level of mastery as the original user of the ability. This limitation had been evident during the confrontation with the Weather Child in the Wulwan Empire. Zhu Zheng's heart swelled with joy, but he quickly recalled something and reined in his smile. "It seems your approach was correct. All these past years, I kept you close by my side precisely because I feared something might happen to you without me." He sighed. "You should understand an old father's concern for his daughter. I dreaded the thought of you facing even the slightest danger out there." Lan Xingqing nodded hastily. "Commander Zhu, I completely understand your perspective." He turned to Zhu Yu. "But now, you see for yourself. Miss Zhu Yu has grown up. She should be allowed to forge her own path. Only then can she unlock her true potential and become stronger. Only then can she prove herself equal to that traitor who fled to distant lands." As Zhu Zheng's confidant, Lan Xingqing knew Zhu Zheng's true thoughts all too well. On the surface, it was concern for Zhu Yu's safety. But in truth, wasn't he still wary of Gao Changkong, who was growing ever more powerful in Brahma? Over the past 2 years, the international situation had largely stabilized, granting them access to intelligence from other nations. Weekly reports on Gao Changkong's activities arrived from the southwest region. It was said that Gao Changkong's standing among the 8 tribes' heavenly dragon of Brahma had now risen to the top 3. In terms of raw power alone, only Emperor Indra could suppress him. The more this was the case, the more Zhu Zheng's heart was filled with dread. He often had nightmares, dreaming of Gao Changkong returning to Blizzard City to slaughter his entire family. More than half of Zhu Zheng's graying hair was due to this very fear. Facing the two, Zhu Zheng spoke earnestly, "All these years as the supreme commander of the Jiangnan region, I have constantly worried about the development of the entire region and the survival of all its people. I admit that after the apocalypse, to ensure the collective's survival, we did sacrifice the interests of some individuals. Because of this, I've incurred the hatred of many. Right now, I don't know how many people out there want my life. And among them, the one I fear most is Gao Changkong, who defected to Brahma." He fixed his gaze on Zhu Yu. "Zhu Yu, you have grown into your power. With a 28,000-point ability index, you rank among the elite of the Huashu Kingdom. Setting aside the monstrous chaos in Hotu, few could defeat you with certainty. I suspect Gao Changkong faces suppression in Brahma too. The Brahmin aren't fools, they wouldn't fully cultivate a foreigner. So remember this, from today onward, you have only one paramount mission. Zhu Zheng's gaze sharpened. That mission is to eliminate Gao Changkong, to eradicate the final threat to the Jiangnan region. More accurately, it was a threat to Zhu Zheng himself. For from the very beginning, Gao Changkong had targeted only him, and those like him, the high-ranking elites who had purged the masses of the old and weak back in the day. Zhu Yu's eyes held a trace of bewilderment, but she nodded nonetheless. If her father said Gao Changkong deserved to die, then finding an opportunity to eliminate him was simply the right thing to do. She saw nothing wrong with that. After speaking, Zhu Zheng turned his gaze to Lan Xinqing. A sigh escaped his heart. He had punished Lan Xinqing over Zhu Yu's affair, yet unexpectedly, misfortune had brought blessing. Zhu Yu had grown stronger, and Zhu Zheng's security had become more assured. The facts proved Lan Xinqing right. But as a leader, Zhu Zheng could never admit his mistake. You aided Zhu Yu's departure from Blizzard City without my approval. Yet, considering your years of unwavering loyalty and Zhu Yu's safe return without incident, I shall forgive you this once. Effective immediately, you are to resume your duties at the Secretariat. But remember, this is a one-time exception. Zhu Zheng's tone carried a heavy warning. Betrayal was something no leader could tolerate. Logically, even if he reduced Lan Xinqing's punishment, it was unthinkable to allow him to continue serving as secretary. But right now, he truly had no one else suitable. In comparison, Lan Xinqing's minor transgression could only be forgiven. Lan Xinqing's face lit up with relief, and he hastily bowed his head. Thank you for your forgiveness, Commander Zhu. From now on, I will brave fire and water for you without hesitation. Zhu Zheng's gaze drifted slowly toward the window. At that moment, Blizzard City was bustling with activity, gathering the elite forces of the entire Huashu Kingdom. Everyone knew that starting today, the Huashu Kingdom would undergo earth-shattering transformation. I will make my Zhu Yu a bishop-level mutant in the shortest time possible. By then, a mere Gao Changkong will no longer pose a threat to me. Zhu Zheng made up his mind. Once he secured the resources Zhang Yi had promised, he would focus all efforts on cultivating Zhu Yu first. The remaining resources wouldn't simply be divided among the major factions either. In this apocalyptic age, to gain power and status, one must wield absolute military might. Blizzard City needed to boost its combat strength.